And welcome to a brand new week of Capital Talk, a program we hope will have an impact on the future of Kenya and Africa for that matter. Now more than ever, I'm Jeff Koinange. Now all this week we're giving you just a treat after another. And I tell you, it being Monday doesn't get any better than this because we have a living, talking, walking legend of music in the house. That's what I'm talking about. This man has been doing music for the last half century, more than 50 albums to his name, but that's not even the story because he left his native South Africa to pursue a career in music. It was supposed to be for 4 years, ended up away for 3 decades. Along the way, he met the likes of Miles Davis, oh my goodness, Bob Marley, Harry Belafonte, Miriam Makeba, Dizzy Gillespie, Jimi Hendrix. I could go on and on. Goodness gracious me. I tell you, some 50 plus years later, when he went back home, and he's been through it all. Sex, drugs, the works, and lived through it, survived. He's 72 years old now, folks, in town for just one show. If you want to read more of his story, if I haven't given it justice, pick up Still Grazing. Go to Yaya Center, talk to my man Chan at Bookstop. He'll get you still grazing. As we sit back and talk to a real legend in the music industry and in anything. Walking, talking legend. Hugh Masekela. Oh, some love, brother. Give me love.
Yeah. Well, I don't shake hands anymore because my wife always goes like this. She shakes so many people's hands. So I said, what should I do? Yeah. She said, it's nicer to hug anyway, and it's more sanitary. But it also has a lot of soul.
Your hug feels really real, man.
No, I'm sincere.
Wow.
I'm sincere.
Yes.
And then, it's the first 3 letters of my name.
H-U-G.
Yeah.
Hug.
So, I mean, I have to hug.
My brother, you have a history and a half. And thank goodness there's a book about it. But tell me, man, you land in America, right? In the 50s somewhere, right? Oh, 60s.
1960.
Early 60s.
Yeah. 1960.
What was it like?
Well, for me, I was like a pig in dirty mud because at this time I was a scholar of a bebop. Miriam Makeba was a childhood friend and a dear lover, when I was a teenager. Had just hit it big in America. So I was going to the Guildhall School of Music in London, and she said, homeboy, come here, and by then she had introduced me to Dizzy Gillespie, to J.J. Johnson, to Miles didn't write, and they sent me the latest records, and she was sending me the latest shoes and flushums and whenever a letter came from her, all my friends would come and we'd read it together, Today I was just with Duke Ellington and then Mahalia Jackson, and we were like, she's there, And but for me, as a scholar and a scholar since infancy of American music, especially African American, it really was like going to heaven to be able to go there. And it was during the golden age of music there when in one night you could see Dinah Washington, Duke Ellington, Count Basie, Ella Fitzgerald, Miles Davis, Dizzy Gillespie. The night that I arrived, Dizzy had left orders. Miriam was out on tour with Belafonte. She said, I have to come. He was playing opposite Thelonious Monk at the Jazz Gallery. So I went there and he was like, ooh, because we'd been corresponding. When he came off the set, he said, let's just go down the street here because the 5 spot is there and Max Roach wants to meet you and Charlie Mingus is also playing there. And so we went, when Monk was going on, and he introduced me to Monk as we were leaving. Monk was going to go in, and he said, Thel, this is the young African trumpet player I was telling you about. And Monk went, So I said, Dizzy, what's that about? He said, you'll find out later. So we went and then I met, and I was tired because I'd flown in that day. So after his set, I said, listen, thanks for everything. I'm going to bed. No, you can't go to bed. Train is waiting for you. I told him you were coming, and he's at the half note. Went to the half note. I mean, one day, because Dizzy like was sort of like the godfather of music that time, you know, and he was tight with Louis Armstrong like this, and they were neighbors. So he said, "You got to come to Birdland when I'm there because everybody comes." And like, you know, we used to stand at the bar. You pay $1 to stand at the bar. But that night when he was playing and I went down there, all the musicians were there, from like Donald Byrd to Miles to Cannonball to, I mean, the bar was just full. And that's when he introduced me. This is a funny story because he introduced me to Miles. Yeah. He said, "Miles, this is the kid I was telling you about. He's here now." Miles said, "You know Jeff? I know that's your name."
Yes, yes.
So I said, "Jeff?" We said, "You don't know Jeff? He ain't no from South Africa. He ain't from South Africa. You don't know Jeff." And Jeff happens to be like Jeff Catrias, which we used to call him Hooja, who got me my first gig. And South Africa. Was also like a distant cousin of mine.
Right.
And he was like the most arrogant dresser, and like, so I said, "You talking about Hooja?" Yeah. And he said, "Hooja? Who's Hooja?" I said, "You don't know Hooja?" And we became friends from that moment. So he said, "Jeff, man," because you know, he was like, he didn't care, but he said, Jeff really put me in my place. Because when I first met him, he was living in Sweden then, Jeff, he said, when I met him in Sweden, he said, "Yeah, small boy, you wouldn't be anything without Charlie Parker or Dizzy Gillespie. You're just a small boy."
To Miles Davis.
Wow. So I said, "Jeff's your cousin?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "No, man, you know Jeff." But my life was like, and I was still at school then.
Yeah.
But my second year, I formed a group with Larry Willis, who was also my classmate.
But tell me something, Hugh. What did these people think of your music then? You coming, this trumpeter from South Africa. What did they think?
Well, the word was, because I was a bebopper, so I was jamming with everybody, and the word was out, "Man, there's a little young African here playing like Brownie," because Clifford Brown was my favorite. Right. And so like Miriam and Belafonte, you know, helped me through school, and I had to work in Belafonte's publishing company. Because said, "Man, we got the money, but we ain't gonna make it easy for you. You're gonna be able to pay your rent. You gotta work. Don't want to spoil you, but you gotta." And then he got me on Miriam's second album to play muted trumpet on 4 songs on the many voices of Miriam Makeba. And that was a big hit, but the most played songs were the ones where, you know, I accompanied on muted trumpet. Yeah. And so then I started getting offers, you know, to record. And so I formed a quartet. And when I was first starting, you know, Belafonte, because I used to use his loft, and he said, "Man, you know, here we are, you come from Africa, and we're waiting for you to give us some African stuff, and instead you're doing what we're doing. What's the point? You know, why did you come here? Why am I helping you through school? Why does Miriam bring you here?" So I said, "I don't know what you're talking about." He said, "You got to try and like turn us on to where you come from." Yes. So then I had to dememorize, and then Miles told me the same thing. "Man, I hear you playing bebop. Shit, if I was from South Africa, I wouldn't be playing no bebop. If you the bebop you know and the shit that you know from your home, if you put that together, that's gonna be a mother." Yes. And so then I had to like, but fortunately, Miriam and her daughter was 9 years old. Now Miriam's mother was an African traditional healer who had a repertoire, but it was not even a repertoire, it was an anthology of Southern African traditional healers' music. So I started with my second attempt. I started with a lot of songs that were written, that Miriam learned from her mother, like Bajabula Bonk and Sinora Bira, and slowly things came back to me because I had to like, and now I was really like keen for people to bring me records from home, you know, because when I was staying at home, I'd really been concentrating a lot on the bebop masters.
Would you miss home while you were away now? I mean, now into the first decade, the second decade.
Oh man, no, the first snow, because I got there in September, and the first snow came in December. Yes. And I remember people were like, the snow is, it was so cold. And I had this little coat, you know, little those little three-quarter Italian coats. And I took a picture, you know, outside, and I sent it, you know, home to say, it's really cold here. Yeah. But, you know, the thing that people don't know is that, you know, you're lucky to be an African, because Africans, we have extended families. You know, if you're starving, you can always go to your cousin or your uncle or your grandmother's house or your aunt's house, and, you know, and they'll feed you. Yeah. But when you, especially in those days when we just found, nobody knew anything about Africa except a handful. And I really learned, I think I learned how to live independently, because I had no. But the worst thing was that you start dreaming in English, because I wasn't speaking English all the time, obviously, and I started speaking it there on a daily basis. Yeah. And the day I woke up, I'd been dreaming in English, I cried, you know, like just to myself. But then your tongue is just like, you know, and so I'd go to the park and talk to myself, you know. Imagine I'm with the guys, hey, Jeff, my bro, check it out, and be acting like. And then one day, like, I was doing that, but there were some people looking at me. And then finally, and I was really animated because I was going through Zulu and then Xhosa and then Tsotsitaal. And the cop came, excuse me, buddy. I said, those folks here say you've been standing here talking to yourself for the last hour. Are you okay? And I was like, you know, I still was afraid of cops, you know, right. Coming from South Africa. I was like, oh no, I'm okay, man. And you know, I come from South Africa, I'm homesick. I was just talking to them. He said, to South Africa? Tell me about it. And we became friends for many years. So like, he looked at him, he's okay, just homesick.
And then there was another incident where, I don't know, were you staying at some people's home and you told them you were from South Africa and they said, say something in that that language where you click two bricks together?
No, there was a great trumpet player who was actually in Ray Charles's band, Marcus Belgrave. He teaches now in Detroit. Beautiful. We became great friends. So it was my first, I'd met him on my first month there, because his roommate was an African-American trumpet player from Alabama by the name of Phil DeFloyd. But when he told me, I thought he said Field Flow. So for like months I was calling him Field Flow. Hey, Field Flow, this is my friend Field Flow. And then one day we're in class and I looked at this book, it was Phil DeFloyd. I said, man, you didn't tell me that your name was Phil DeFloyd. Yeah. He said, I said Field Flow, man, what's the matter with you? I said Field Flow. And then he said, hey man, why ain't you talking like no black man? I mean, he said, every time I'm talking to you, you're going rap to tap to tap to tap 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 like some white guy. What's the matter with you? I said, man, he said, you got to talk like us. I said, no, man, I don't know. I really don't know. And he says, well, you better hang with me, boy. I don't want you going around talking like some white man. That's bullshit. You know? So he introduced me to Marcus Belgrave. And Thanksgiving, Marcus took us to Chester, Pennsylvania, where his home was, right. You know. Yeah. And he had grown up with Clifford Brown, you know, who was like my biggest trumpet virtuoso in my, I mean, nobody has yet played like this guy. But when we got there, it was like, because those people are real Southern, you know, and we go to eat, and so the aunts and the uncles, and Marcus said, he's from Africa. I said, from Africa? They're all Marcus Garvey people also. You know, that's how he got named Marcus. Oh, Africa, we were going to go, you know. So they said, talk some of the talk, you know. And I was talking, and they were like giving each other 5, man, let me see. do that.
Because of all the clicking.
Yeah, I said, okay, let me give you how children learn. The first sentence they learn in Xhosa is about how the beetle beat up the frog in Grahamstown and dismantled its throat. I said, God damn, that's violent, bro. So I says, how did it sound? I said, Iqaqa la kubula ixoxo eqhonce la uqhaqa uqhoqhoqo. They were like, damn, do it again. Do you hear that, man? Damn, let me see.
They had never seen anything like it.
They never heard it. How you do that? Open your mouth. Can you do it with your mouth?
Oh my, that must have been something else.
But it was like my first Thanksgiving then. It was with an African American family, and it was so like Belafonte was like my him and Dizzy were like my surrogate fathers. So Belafonte is a very highly cultured person, and very self-educated, well-ready. Said,
Yeah.
I'm worried about you, Hugh, or someone. He says, you're beginning to talk like, that Americans. I said, man, you're from Harlem. What are you talking to me about? He said, yeah, but this is. I said, the accent that you like me to talk in is English, a British accent. So I said, if I'm here and I'm hanging out with all these, jazz musicians, and they're talking like that, I can't, be talking like some British guy, because they're already coming down on me, we're talking about rap to tap, 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 tap shit, So, so I have to talk like, because I'm hanging out with them. He said, looked at me and said, I never thought about it. I said, it's nice when you go on television and you talk, and then but like if you're in Harlem or you're with the, you're hanging out, you got to talk like, yeah, man, what are you talking about? Yeah, no, yeah.
Rap to tap tap.
You can't be talking about rap to tap, 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 tap shit, man.
Bro, you want to talk more about that. And also meeting Bob Marley, man, Jimi Hendrix, those kind of people. And then further down the line, man, going back to South Africa for the first time, drugs, the alcohol, the recovery, all that. First, let's take a break, brah Hugh. Good grief.
Sorry to make you laugh.
What a treat. I love it. I love it. What a treat from brah Hugh Masekela in town. I tell you, we're taking a trip down memory lane all the way from the 60s on down. And it's a fun ride, folks. Don't even think of going away. The Bench, and It's Only Monday, is back in a moment. And welcome back to Capital Talk. All this week, it's going to be fantastic, folks. It's a week culminating into Father's Day. And we're beginning the week with, I tell you, the father of all jazz music himself. This guy, 50 plus albums, was in exile for more than 30 years, came back to South Africa, been through hell and back, and still loving it at 72. 2 words, Hugh Masekela, or brah Hugh. So, coming back to SA for the first time. This is after 1994.
Well,
or did you go there before that?
I lived in Botswana, I went to Botswana in 1981 after I'd been in Lesotho. Remember the brother here said he saw me in Lesotho? And from there, I had a childhood friend who was in exile in Gaborone. And he called me, man, he said, I hear that you want to stay there, but like Lesotho is no good because it's landlocked, and you have to come here to Botswana. And Gaborone was still a small town, but it was, and I said, okay, I'll come over on my way back to the States. And then when I got there, he said, there's a little group here, only one group here, and they're called Mother. It'd be great, man. Actually, what you should do is like, come and live here, because in the States you're just a statistic. Yeah. But here you could teach, and you could play with this group, and I did exactly that. I did exactly that. And then every weekend, all our friends would come from South Africa, come and visit us. And sometimes when we it's heartbreaking because you have to we'd accompany them to the border. And then he said, I know one day you'll come. And sometimes, there's some of my funnier friends say, listen, why don't you just go in the boot, man, and let's go in the trunk, and then we'll bring you back next week. So that part of it was sad, but then I had so much contact with South Africa.
Yeah. But going back physically.
But it was worse then than it had ever been. In the 80s, the apartheid machine was really cruel. And then in 1985, they came and raided Gaborone and killed 14 activists, 2 of which were my childhood friend, George Partley, and his wife. In fact, I think you saw that it always had this television That was
Yes.
with the bullet holes in it. There was this house. So I went into second exile. Really had, but this time I was sure that I'd never see South Africa again, because I couldn't even live in Botswana, and they repatriated all South African activists who were staying there. And then, fortunately, at that time I was signed to Jive Records, which was just starting in England. So I was able to stay there. And then I was writing Sarafina on and off with Bongeni Ngema. And so we did a world tour with Graceland, with Paul Simon. Yeah, with Paul Simon.
Oof.
And then Sarafina came to New York, and then I moved, back into New York with it, and we had a second group in Europe. So things were really good, but I missed South Africa more than so. In '89, I went to with my wife to visit Botswana, and I'd left when there was a drought, a real drought. When I came back, it had rained and everything was so green. I lost all my landmarks and my and a friend of mine, because friends came again, said, "You're gonna come back home next year." And I was like, "Come on," and talking to Ravi, he says, "I'm telling you, man." And it was just hard to believe, and then in 1990, in February, when Mandela walked out of jail, and he called me and said, what did I tell you? So go back to the Botswana border and I'll come with a truck and we'll take it. But then coming back was like probably the greatest thing that ever happened to me, because I never thought I'd be able to play with South African musicians again in so many numbers. So then I did a tour with Sankomota, which was like the biggest group, and Bayete, the two biggest groups, and Palesa, which had like three great singing ladies. And then with Baobab, a dance group, and we did a 4-month tour of the whole country. It was sponsored, and we played to like 10,000 people every night, everywhere in the country. And it was like, for me it was miraculous, because I never thought it would happen. But like, I was also at the height of my vulnerability, because you have to remember that when I left South Africa, I was already an alcoholic, but didn't know it, because in South Africa, liquor was legalized for Africans in 1961, and before that it had been like one of the biggest businesses, and also a form of resistance, because when you were really drunk and your papers were right, it was great to be able to go to a cop and say, "You want to see my papers?" And when I left, I didn't know, because it was just a natural thing. I mean, people like, you see that Koinange, you can't drink with that man. Yeah. That brother is like, and when you pass by, "Oh, brother Jeff,"
Yes.
And it's one of South Africa's most lingering problems even now. So when I was already smoking grass also, but all the musicians that I learned from in South Africa all died from booze, all of them. If it wasn't booze, it was the after effects, even if they left it, But all of them died from booze, except Zakes and Kosi, who died from obesity and food, because it was with them. So when they were drinking, it'd eat.
And the drugs as well?
No, they just smoke. So some of them smoke. But when I got to the States, when my career broke, was also like the time of flower power and Love Generation. And then I moved to California, where my records were really big, and my immediate friends were like Peter Fonda and David Crosby and Dennis Harper. They came to look, and then the Crusaders came out, and it was like flower power was. I mean, everybody was high. Everybody was high. Yeah. The babes were not wearing drawers or bras, and it was a time of free love, and then I played in 1967, I played the Monterey Pop Festival, which featured The Who and Otis Redding and Ravi Shankar. And that's where me and Jimi Hendrix met up. But and I also met Paul Simon before that, because Paul Simon's producer was an African American by the name of Tom Wilson. Also produced Bob Dylan and a whole lot of other people.
And then you met Bob Marley the following year, 68?
In 68, then I got very friendly with a man called Adam Wade, and he introduced me to Johnny Nash, you know, who like was really a protege of Sam Cooke.
That's right.
But Johnny Nash was fascinated with Jamaican music, and I think his family also like had Jamaican origins. And he went to live in Kingston, and that's at the time of the ska, but when reggae was just starting out. And whenever I came to Johannesburg, he'd say, man, I went to like New York, say, you gotta come and visit me. So I started visiting him, and said, it's a young kid, this kid, man, he played, you know, he like so writes a lot of songs. I think at that time, Bob Marley was about 18 or 19, you know, and he was recording like his first things, you know, with the Wailers were just beginning with the girls. And Johnny Nash and them were producing him. So I remember one time he was in the studio and he was, you know, doing his jumps and singing. So I said, Bob, man, you know, you can't be jumping around because the microphone doesn't record the dancing. He said, well, I never thought about that, man, but if me no dance, me no go sing well. You know? So them just have to catch me voice, man. But it was really a love. I mean, these were all lovely people, but we were all high. But compared to other people, we were very straight people, because, I mean, take the Grateful Dead. Wow. The Grateful Dead had like, on stage, maybe about 200 people on the side. Right. The Deadheads. Who like traveled with them everywhere, you know, and they'd follow them by cars. They toured the whole state when they went overseas. But those people were all on LSD all the time, including the Grateful Dead. Yeah. And they took acid every day, you know. So we were like, we figured you're angels, but like if you're addictive, you're addictive. And then around 67, 68, cocaine became like really, but people had been doing it, but at that time it really became popular, you know. And I was like, I mean, when I used to drink, I'd drink like on a slow day, I'd drink 2-3 bottles of cognac, because I start in the morning. When I wake up, it's a triple shot. When I go to the bathroom, it's another triple shot. With my breakfast, another triple shot. When I'm leaving the house, another triple shot. Then I'd go to the health club. Yeah. So by the time I came back to South Africa, you know, with all this largesse and me being spoiled, and you know, the country had opened up to like the Caribbean, to South American dealers, and to the Nigerians. And I've actually like met some people that I'd met with Fela, you know, when I was in West Africa, because I lived there on and off for 9 years. And they just, you don't have to buy anything, man. You want anything, we bring it, you know, in loads. And then South Africa being a booze country, all my old friends, when I first went to visit them in the morning, they'd have like, you know, pap and sima. Yes, pap. And meat, yeah, with a tomato and onion gravy thing, and a bottle of cognac, you know, and beers. And in the morning. Yeah, in the morning, you know, and so like, my old habits were like beginning to like come back, and everything was available, and the babes were just so happy to welcome me back home. And I was, you know, single, and there was nothing I had longed for like that. And by 1997, I'd been home 7 years. If I hadn't gone to rehab, I think I would have died. And at rehab, I took up counseling, and also learned the psychology of addiction, and came back and went public with it. And it inspired a lot of people, a lot of my other friends, drinking buddies, and people I'd like be having a great time with were like really pissed off at me, like, man, if you're okay and you're living these things, why do you have to do all these announcements? Can't you just like enjoy your sobriety and let us enjoy what we're doing with you? No. Now I'm at home, there's pressure. Why can't you be like Hugh? My wife is saying. But some people are saying, Hugh can't beat me. If he can do it, I can do it too, you know.
Are you off it completely, off alcohol?
No, 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 no. What I did is I decided I was not going to like beat myself up, but I was going to do things when I felt like having it. Because like I couldn't go to when I came, I couldn't go to like the meetings, the AA meetings,
Yeah.
because everybody there complained and they're having a terrible day and I think I'm and I said I don't want to be like these people. I'd rather like started a foundation, with friends of mine, in fact, with Peter and Fundi Vundla.
Yes.
Yeah, we started like musicians and artists assistance program of South Africa, MAPSA. In fact, this year we're 12 years old. But I love a glass of wine now and then, but I know my limits, and like when I'm on tour, I don't touch anything because I can't play as well if I've had a drink. But excess, I think, especially with booze, there's nothing you can do about it. It's all over. It's a real. In South Africa, it's still a competitive culture. But I think that if you know your limits and it doesn't affect your life, it doesn't affect your family, it doesn't affect your job, you have the right to have a good time.
Absolutely. And obviously you're still enjoying what you do, Hugh. At 72, you're still enjoying it.
Well, I've never done anything else. Like I was saying earlier on that. If you've ever seen the movie The Exorcist, yeah, my devil was music. It invaded me from the time I was a teenager. I mean, I was an infant, and I lived for the gramophone. And fortunately, it was something I didn't have to exercise. And I still am that little kid who's crazy about music, And then I wake up with a song in my head, a song in my heart. And I could never have done anything else. In fact, my parents, when I was 5 years old, got me a piano lessons because I was just singing with every record, and they used to say to your friends, "Listen to him, sing it." And so I just lived music. I was also very sports. I played soccer, I played tennis, I ran, I boxed, but music has always been my center. And it's not even a matter of enjoying it. It's like if you went to Picasso and said, "Do you enjoy drawing?" I probably would laugh at you. Like, what else do you want me to do? I gotta draw.
Good to see you, man.
I gotta sing. I gotta
doing
play.
what you do, man.
Okay,
Keep doing it.
Thank you very much.
And happy Father's Day, end of this week.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
Okay, thank you. Fathers out there, happy.
Happy. Folks, this is not even half the story. Pick up, still grazing. Yaya Center, talk to Shand. It's all about Hugh Masekela, folks. 50 albums later, this man, a living, breathing, talking legend. I tell you, look forward to see him every time he plays. Trumpet man, and he's played with the greats. He is the man. And it's only Monday, folks. What a guest, what a show. What a week it's going to be on the bench. You simply cannot find guests like Hugh Masekela anywhere else, but right here on the bench, on the award-winning station, K24, where we are. Where even in times of still grazing, we're still all Kenyan.
All the time. Nataka Kenya.
Capital Talk is filmed at Fairmont, the Norfolk.